Why do some men walk into a room and instantly capture a woman's attention, while others try everything and still get ignored? It's not about looks, it's not about money, and it's definitely not about being nice. If you truly want to understand how to attract a woman, you need to stop chasing and start becoming, because attraction isn't something you force, it's something you trigger. Let's talk about how. Most men approach attraction as if it's a logical equation. They think, if I do X, she will like me, or if I buy her gifts, she will be interested. They analyze, strategize, and try to manipulate outcomes like it's a business deal. But here's the truth that so few men truly understand: attraction doesn't live in logic, attraction lives in emotion. Women don't fall in love with your plans, your strategy, or even your impressive resume. They fall in love with how you make them feel in your presence. It's the small shifts in energy, the way your calmness commands the room, the subtle confidence in your voice, or the way you hold yourself without desperation. These are the triggers that ignite interest, curiosity, and desire. A woman may rationally admire your achievements, but that admiration alone will never make her heart race. Emotional connection is what creates attraction, and it often bypasses reason entirely. When a man truly grasps this, he starts to understand why being nice rarely works. Niceness is often based on logic, helping, complimenting, and over explaining in the hope of earning approval. But this approach appeals to the mind, not the heart. Emotional attraction, on the other hand, is sparked by feeling understood, challenged, and inspired. Women are drawn to energy, presence, and emotional resonance. When a man projects calm confidence, doesn't overreact, and handles challenges with composure, it creates a sense of security and admiration that no logical argument can replicate. It's about subtlety, the way you maintain your standards without forcing them, the way you tease, the way you carry a silent assurance that says, I'm in control of my life and I know my worth. This creates tension and intrigue, and that tension is the fuel of attraction. Another aspect to understand is that emotions are contagious. If you are emotionally stable, calm, and grounded, it pulls her into your orbit. If you are reactive, needy, or constantly seeking validation, it pushes her away. Logical reasoning cannot replace emotional cues because emotions are primal and instinctive. They respond to energy rather than words. Women sense whether your presence makes them feel alive, safe, or excited, and this response happens almost instantly. It's why two men with similar looks, status, and even financial success can have drastically different results with women. One is magnetic and the other is invisible. Attraction is not measured by checklists or techniques. It's measured by emotional impact. Emotional attraction also explains why shared values or logical compatibility often fail to sustain interest. A woman may intellectually agree with everything you say, but if she doesn't feel drawn, excited, or challenged emotionally, she won't invest herself. Emotional connection creates a pull that logic cannot manufacture, and it often operates below the level of conscious thought. This is why charismatic men are so effective. They don't need to explain why they are valuable. Their energy communicates it effortlessly. Most men make the critical mistake of tying their value to someone else's approval. They live their lives constantly trying to earn validation from women, from friends, or even from society, believing that acceptance equals worth. But here's the hard truth: no one can give you self-worth. Approval is fleeting, conditional, and often inconsistent. When you rely on it, you are giving your power away. You start changing your behavior, suppressing your desires, and prioritizing what other people want over what you truly need. This desperation is visible, even when you think you are hiding it. Women instinctively sense when a man is living for approval, and attraction instantly diminishes because a man who seeks validation is signaling insecurity rather than strength. True confidence, true attraction comes from knowing your value internally without asking anyone else to confirm it for you. Understanding self worth is about creating a foundation that no one can shake. It's about realizing that your life, your purpose, your vision, and your standards are non negotiable. When you operate from a place of self respect, you stop over texting, over explaining, and over investing in someone who hasn't yet earned your attention. You stop bending over backward to be liked, and instead, you start projecting energy that naturally draws people toward you. Women feel this immediately. There is a magnetic pull in a man who is grounded in his worth. He doesn't chase. He doesn't compete for attention. He simply exists as someone who is comfortable in his skin, and that comfort communicates value far louder than any words or gestures could. Chasing approval often leads men to sacrifice boundaries and standards, thinking that pleasing a woman will make her like them more. But in reality, the opposite happens. Without boundaries, you lose respect. Without standards, you lose presence. When a man seeks validation from every interaction, he becomes predictable, available, and easily replaceable. Women, even subconsciously, are drawn to rarity and mystery. When your self worth is independent of anyone else, you become that rare man. You are less reactive to her moods, less desperate for attention, and more focused on your life and your goals. This doesn't mean ignoring her or being cold. It means maintaining your center, your identity, and your priorities, and allowing attraction to arise naturally through your confidence and stability. Self worth also protects against emotional manipulation. A man who seeks approval is easily swayed by guilt, flattery, or criticism, and he often tolerates behaviors that undermine his dignity. But a man who knows his value cannot be controlled by others' opinions. He sets his standards, communicates them clearly, and operates from a place of inner strength. Women respond to this energy because it signals that he is a man who knows what he wants, who will not compromise his identity, and who will never settle for anything less than mutual respect and genuine connection. Attraction is drawn to purpose. A man without direction is like a boat adrift at sea. He may float, he may survive, but he never inspires. Women are instinctively drawn to men who have a clear path, who know where they are going, and who lead with confidence. Masculine direction is not about arrogance or domination. It's about clarity, focus, and the ability to take charge of your own life. When a man has goals, ambition, and a vision for his future, he naturally communicates strength and stability. This is magnetic because women are wired to respond to men who create safety and structure, who can take responsibility not only for their own life, but for the energy they bring into a relationship. Leadership is not about controlling others. It's about guiding your own life with purpose and conviction, and women sense this at a subconscious level. A man with direction doesn't wait for circumstances to define him. He doesn't drift from one job, one hobby, or one relationship to another, hoping something will stick. He moves intentionally, setting priorities, making decisions, and taking consistent action toward his goals. This consistency is attractive because it signals competence and reliability. Women are naturally drawn to men who can handle challenges with resilience, who face obstacles with calm determination, and who make decisions confidently without overanalyzing or doubting themselves. Direction and leadership create a form of presence that goes beyond words. It's visible in posture, in energy, and in the way he carries himself in every situation. Masculine leadership also involves emotional guidance. A man who leads is not swayed by every mood swing or drama he encounters. He holds his center, manages his emotions, and communicates with clarity. Women are drawn to this stability because it creates a sense of trust and security. They don't want a man who simply reacts. They want a man who responds, who can think clearly under pressure, and who can create solutions rather than problems. When a man embodies this energy, he becomes naturally attractive because he radiates competence, reliability, and calm strength, qualities that logic alone cannot manufacture. Leadership is also about creating vision in the relationship, not about controlling it. A man with direction knows what he values, sets boundaries, and communicates them without apology. He inspires action, growth, and mutual respect rather than dependence. This energy is magnetic because women feel it as guidance, protection, and purpose. They feel safe, they feel alive, and they feel drawn in by a man who is not passive or reactive, but proactive, intentional, and unshakable in his pursuit of personal growth and meaningful goals. One of the most powerful yet overlooked aspects of attraction is emotional control. Many men mistake intensity for passion, reacting impulsively to every situation, every text, every comment. But true attraction comes from restraint, from the ability to stay calm and composed regardless of circumstances. Women are wired to notice how a man handles his emotions more than what he says. A man who loses his composure, who panics when tested, or who overreacts to minor slights immediately signals insecurity. Emotional instability communicates neediness, desperation, and lack of control, all of which are highly unattractive. On the other hand, a man who masters his emotional state projects strength without arrogance, calm without indifference, and confidence without ego. This control creates a magnetic energy because it signals maturity, self-reliance, and the ability to navigate life's challenges with grace. It's not about suppressing feelings, it's about managing them, processing them internally, and choosing when and how to express them in ways that reinforce your value and presence. Mystery is the natural complement to emotional control. When a man reveals everything about himself too quickly, when he is always predictable, or when he tries too hard to be understood, intrigue disappears. Women are drawn to men who have layers, men who maintain a sense of depth and subtlety in their interactions. Mystery is not about playing games. It's about living a life full of purpose, interests, and experiences that don't revolve solely around her. A man who cultivates mystery has boundaries, has a world beyond the relationship, and carries himself in a way that sparks curiosity. This combination of emotional control and mystery is intoxicating because it creates a pull that cannot be manufactured with logic or effort. It's felt, not explained. Women instinctively want to explore, to engage, and to invest in someone who holds a strong inner world that isn't entirely accessible at first glance. Emotional control also acts as a filter. When a man maintains his composure, he naturally attracts women who appreciate stability, respect, and intelligence, while repelling those who are drama-driven or attention-seeking. Mystery enhances this by giving women space to wonder, to pursue, and to feel the tension that is the heartbeat of attraction. A man who combines these qualities doesn't need to over-explain, over-pursue, or overcompensate. His energy alone communicates value. He becomes a presence that draws attention without demanding it, a person who is intriguing, reliable, and respected in equal measure. This energy signals that he is not desperate, that he has choices, and that he operates from a place of self-respect and inner strength. One of the most overlooked yet powerful elements of attraction is the way a man defines his standards and enforces his boundaries. Many men believe that being liked, being available, or being agreeable will make a woman stay interested. They say yes too often, compromise their values, and tolerate behavior that undermines their dignity. But the truth is, attraction is drawn to men who are selective, who have a clear sense of what they will and will not accept, and who enforce their standards without apology. When a man communicates that his time, attention, and energy are valuable, he creates a sense of rarity that women cannot ignore. A man without boundaries is accessible, predictable, and ordinary. A man with standards is magnetic because he signals that he has worth, integrity, and control over his life. Women sense this immediately, even on a subconscious level, and it triggers respect, admiration, and desire. Boundaries are not about being cold or detached. They are about self-respect and clarity. A man who maintains his standards does not compromise his goals, values, or time for the sake of fleeting attention or temporary approval. He does not overreact when tested, nor does he chase someone who fails to meet the energy he offers. By standing firm, he communicates a sense of inner strength and confidence that cannot be faked or forced. Women are naturally drawn to men who challenge them not through manipulation, but by demonstrating that their attention and affection are earned, not given freely to anyone willing to ask. This dynamic creates tension, intrigue, and desire because it positions the man as a prize rather than a supplicant. Standards also extend to emotional interaction. A man who tolerates disrespect, drama, or inconsistency sends the wrong message about his value. Women are instinctively aware of who respects themselves, and they are drawn to those who enforce emotional boundaries without aggression. This does not mean being unkind or aloof. It means protecting your energy, being deliberate with your attention, and communicating your expectations clearly. It's about creating an environment where connection and attraction flourish naturally, rather than forcing compliance through over-pursuit. By combining clear standards with firm boundaries, a man becomes rare and magnetic. He projects a life of purpose and integrity, which signals to a woman that he is not desperate or reactive, but intentional in every interaction. He is the type of man who doesn't need to prove his worth because it is already evident in the way he lives, the way he carries himself, and the way he allows others to enter his life only on his terms. This balance between availability and selectivity creates desire, fosters respect, and elevates attraction in ways that logic or effort alone cannot achieve. Energy and presence are the invisible forces that define attraction. Many men underestimate this because it cannot be quantified, calculated, or taught through logic alone. They focus on what they say, what they do, or the image they project externally, while completely ignoring the energy they emit. A man's presence is not about being loud, flashy, or performing for attention. True presence is subtle, magnetic, and undeniable. It's about being fully grounded in the moment, completely aware of yourself, and carrying an energy that signals calm confidence and self-possession. Women are instinctively drawn to this because it communicates stability, strength, and authenticity. When a man projects energy that is centered and controlled, he does not need to try to impress. His mere presence makes people lean in, listen, and pay attention. Energy is contagious, and it influences everything around a man. A high-energy man inspires curiosity, excitement, and a sense of possibility. He radiates a quiet confidence that makes interactions effortless, and women respond to this energy without even realizing why. Presence is about how you occupy space, physically, emotionally, and mentally. It's the way you walk into a room without apology, the way you listen intently without being distracted, the way you communicate with focus and intention. Women are drawn to men who are fully present because it signals that they are not lost in anxiety, fear, or neediness. They feel seen, they feel valued, and they feel the magnetic pull of someone who is comfortable in his own skin. A man with strong energy and presence does not rely on words to convey value. He does not over-explain, over-text, or overcompensate. His energy does the talking. Presence is built through self-mastery, physical health, mental clarity, and emotional control. It requires a man to take care of himself, pursue his goals relentlessly, and cultivate a lifestyle that naturally radiates vitality and purpose. When a man operates from this space, he becomes magnetic, not because he tries to be, but because his energy signals that he is high value, grounded, and self sufficient. Presence also amplifies all other aspects of attraction: confidence, leadership, emotional control, and standards. Without presence, even a man with high status, wealth, or intelligence can feel invisible. Presence is the foundation of all attraction because it is how a woman experiences a man before he says a single word. It's the energy she feels in the room, the unspoken authority he carries, and the way he makes her feel alive, safe, and intrigued in his company. Presence is the silent language of magnetism that instantly separates high-value men from those who are ordinary. Attraction isn't something you force, and it isn't something you can buy or manipulate. It flows naturally when you operate from a place of strength, purpose, and self-respect. When you understand that women respond to emotion more than logic, when you value yourself over approval, when you lead your life with direction and intention, and when you cultivate calm control, mystery, and high standards, you naturally become magnetic. Presence and energy amplify everything else, making you a man who doesn't need to chase or perform, but simply exists as someone worth noticing. The truth is simple. The moment you stop trying to impress, the moment you stop seeking validation, and the moment you choose to live life on your terms, attraction stops being a question. Women are drawn to men who are complete, confident, and self-assured, men who operate from value, not need. Everything you do, every choice you make, every boundary you set becomes a signal of your worth. And when that alignment happens, you don't have to wonder how to attract a woman. Your energy, your presence, and your life naturally draw the right woman to you. It's about becoming the man who doesn't need to ask for attention, approval, or love because you are already whole. That is the real power of attraction.